Hi everyone, it's your boy Zach, and I'm agitated right now, but I'm also agitated in this way where I finally understand why my buddy gets agitated. So, for people who watch my other show, you probably know that I'm roommates with a buddy of mine from the Marines from way back, and I talk about him a little bit. He's kind of a weird guy. He's into conspiracies and ancient aliens, and he told me who Melchizedek is, and he watches all kinds of shows. He's retired, but he watches shows in this super weird way where he will binge an entire season while just barely paying attention to it, and then he will binge the next season, and then he'll go through like all 4 or 5 seasons of a show and then start all over again. So he'll binge like a whole show 4 times in 2 weeks. It's completely insane. I guess it works for him. I'm the opposite way. When I'm watching a show, I actually watch it on my phone, not a TV or my tablet, but I just stare at it. Like I've got a staring problem. And man, if I miss one word, if somebody knocks on the door and I look away for 1 second, I will rewind it back to before the point I missed it. So he's been watching Star Trek Enterprise. It's like his 4th or 5th time binging the entire show, not just a season, all 4 seasons. And he's always flipping out about Captain Archer. So we were in the Marines, at the same time, and we had good and bad leaders and some that were kind of insane. I always say, there's nothing wrong with that specific Marine. He just was meant to live like 1,000 years ago. We have this one corporal, and if he would have lived 1,000 years ago, he would have been a warlord. He would have had his own, not like a kingdom, but he probably doesn't have the political savvy to be a king. But he definitely would have been some sort of warlord or general or something like that. When I see him getting bothered about something, I know it's really kind of referring to someone else. But he keeps bringing up Captain Archer, and he's like, Captain Archer is evil. He's a crazy person. He's one of the worst people I've ever seen in fiction. And I would just catch little bits and pieces, but I was like, my friend, he's cool, but he's kind of weird. So he's just getting hung up on something. Oh my gosh. I just watched my 2nd episode of Enterprise. I watched the show finale, and then people said, don't watch that one. Everyone hates it. Watch another one. So yesterday when I was talking to my buddy, I was like, what's happened in this episode? It's like, wait, are they growing a baby just to harvest his organs? He goes, yep. And it's so much worse than it even sounds. So this is season 3, episode 10 or 11, called Similitude. And it's about Trip, who's basically, so like I said, I've only watched 2 episodes, although I've kind of seen bits and pieces of probably like 20 or so whenever I talk to my buddy, because he just watches it 14 hours a day. But I kind of know the characters and I kind of don't know them, but also I get the feeling that there's not much more there. There's Captain Archer, who is a crazy person who likes water polo and has a beagle. There's Trip, who's like the biggest Chad bro ever. There's some British guy who's a security officer. There's a dopey looking doctor alien. There's a black guy who just doesn't do anything, and there's a Asian woman who I think gets scared a lot. Oh, and then there's T'Pol. What? Whoa. What up? So anyway, in this episode, they are, one of the cool things I like about Enterprise that I would always laugh about when my buddy would talk about it is he's like, this is the episode where they get to Warp 5. So this is before Starfleet. I forget what it's called. It's like called something like UNSF. It's when they first got warp capable and they really started exploring the universe or the galaxy or whatever. It's the first encounters with all these different groups. And he always says, he goes, he's like, this is what it would be like if humans really did go into space. They wouldn't be all nice like they are in Starfleet. They'd just be idiots who would start problems, get in fights, and just basically destroy stuff constantly. And it's kind of what I saw. I mean, it is cool to see people not act like Starfleet, where everyone kind of acts like they're on lithium and they have really calm reactions to everything. But oh wow! So they're trying to go to Warp 5. There's a vague reference to Earth needs us. I don't know what the season 3 storyline. I think it's some sort of alien armada something whatever. I've heard season 3 is the best season of them all. The Xindi, I think it's like the Xindi invasion, something like that. So they don't really explain it besides Earth needs the Enterprise and we need to survive. So they're trying to go to Warp 5 and Trip is making some modifications, and then it looks like it's about to work, and then they blow a gasket or something like this, and they end up in this, I think it's called a positronic field. So Trip gets pretty badly injured, some kind of brain damage. He's in a coma, and he needs some neural tissue so they're like, it's one of those very Star Trek-y things. We have to do X before Y or Z will happen, or Z won't happen. So you're like, okay, fine, Star Trek, okay, fine. Aren't they just gonna, oh wait, it's not Picard's Enterprise. It's like this really janky Enterprise. At one point they said stream, and I thought they said steam, and I was like, wait, are there things that are steam powered on this ship? But it was stream. It was some kind of plasma stream or something like this. So then they go to the doctor, who kind of reminds me of the cook from Voyager, and he pulls out this thing that it looks like some weird thing you would use to like clean tubs in Japan or Sweden or something like this. You're like, oh, you don't have Florkstrufels? It's like, oh, it's how you clean your Schfinkel. It's like this weird. Actually, it kind of looks like pho, like a big blob of pho. And they say basically this thing's like a giant stem cell. If you inject some DNA in it, it'll turn into whatever that DNA was, for that species. But it's going to have a life cycle of 2 weeks. But they say if we give it Trip's DNA, it'll grow. We can take the neural tissue, put it in Trip, and then it'll finish its life cycle, and then Trip will be okay and he can fix everything. To which you go, wow, how many different ways is this unethical? Like, I know it's not Starfleet. I know everyone isn't like very, very moral and mature and professional, but that wouldn't fly right now. Right now, people would say, no. I mean, I'm sure they try to do stuff like this here. It's like, you want to grow a person to adulthood, harvest his organs, and then just treat him like a freaking clipped fingernail. So with very, very little prodding, basically like a 3-sentence explanation, Captain Archer's just kind of like, fine. He's all grumbly. He's like, this is bad, but it's more bad that it makes me feel bad than that it's actually bad. So I was already picking up like that I hate him. So it's kind of a cheesy story. It's a baby, and then it's growing up very fast, but it's very tragic because it's going to die in 2 weeks. But then the really, really tragic part is that besides the doctor for just like the first, for the adolescence of this creature who, by the way, they showed, this clone of Trip at a couple different ages. And you know how in TNG they showed a future version of Wesley, and he looked like Captain America. He was like this football player guy with like sandy brown, / blonde hair, and Wesley now he's like 45 and he looks like complete shit, and he never looked like that football player guy ever. They amazingly found like, I think 3 kids that really, really do look like the actor who plays Trip. I was amazed. And all the kids are really good actors. Usually kids aren't good actors. So it's this really tragic thing. It's like, oh, you have this short lifestyle. But after he stops being like an adolescent, everyone starts being ice cold to him and basically treating him like shit. And it really makes you hate everyone. So he's told basically, you have to... At first they're like, we're going to take your neural tissue, but then the doctor's like, hey, I was wrong. It's going to kill him. And then nobody ever says, we have to rethink every single part of this plan. Now, here's the other thing. this clone, who is called Sim, he has the memories of Trip, and he gets more of them as he gets older. So the fully matured Sim should have the abilities and memories of Trip. So he should be able to save the day. And they should say, oh, you know, the first Trip died, but this is a new being who has a right to live. Oh, and there's this procedure. There's this procedure that possibly could make him not die in 2 weeks. He could just have a normal life. And then he finds out about it, and he's like, do you know about this procedure? And the doctor's like, well, you know, it's not a guarantee. It's like, what? Why didn't you try it? So I need to rewatch Blade Runner. I was talking about it a couple of videos ago. And so I was watching some clips, and there's this great scene where the blonde replicant, I forget his name, goes to meet his, creator. And they have a artificially engineered, short lifespan. So he basically says, I want more life. Now, I remember the more life thing, and I remember him killing his maker, but I forgot, and this might not be in every version, they get into a very, very technical conversation about different possible remedies and all the things that you could try. And there's this great interplay, because it shows that this blonde guy, who had kind of seemed like a thug, he was actually fairly intelligent. You also got to see his creator be proud of his creation's intelligence, and that he had really, really tried to solve this problem. And it was unsolvable. It looked to be legitimately unsolvable, but it looked that both of them had really, really tried to figure it out. This one, there's no real reason. He's just like, hey, I found out there's a way that I could possibly live. And he's like, yeah, no. And it's like, and he's like, no, why? No, I'm real. I don't have to die. So basically, freaking Captain Archer, like the biggest piece of shit. If you think Michael Burnham has emotional instability and is kind of a crazy person, she is like Mother Teresa compared to Captain Archer. He starts emotionally blackmailing and glaring, and he looks like he's about to have a freaking tantrum. He's like, no, you die. You just die. Just lay down and die. So, some more Star Trek-y things happen, and basically, everyone treats him like shit. T'Pol gives him like a little kiss like 5 minutes before he is harvested for his organs. And there's supposed to be this like almost like poignant ending where everyone has a purpose in life, and there's a plan for everyone. And this is your plan. But it really, really looks to me like Sim, he even tries to run away, and he goes, wait, we're in deep space. I couldn't even run anywhere. He basically said, I'm just going to die in this shuttle pod with, piss on the floor because there's no bathroom in it. And he's trying to make a joke, and then Archer's just like, can you just die already? I don't care about you. You're a clipped thumbnail. I don't care about you. So then, he goes and pets a dog. He gets one kiss, and then he gives this really heartfelt speech to Archer, who just doesn't care at all. And at the end, Archer just goes, thanks. And then the guy goes, he walks in, he sacrifices his life to save Trip. Trip fixes the whatever machine. And then, after this guy has been treated like a thumbnail and sacrificed himself for someone he never got to speak to, then Archer gives this sanctimonious, smug speech. It's just all ego. And oh my gosh, I hate this guy. So anyway, that's it. Tell me what you think. I'm looking for suggestions for other. I know a lot of people say, well, you really got to watch all 4 seasons. I don't have time to watch all 4 seasons. If there's a really good or really cringy episode, and this one was kind of both, let me know, and I'll probably do a video on it. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye.